U.S. Supreme Court is expected to release their opinions on a handful of high-stakes cases in what will be their final decisions before the annual summer recess.
Alex Hogan is live in Washington with the details. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Ainsley and Lawrence. So yes, today the court is expected to release some opinions on high-profile cases, including limiting birthright citizenship, another case looking into whether state laws banning biological men from women's sports teams are constitutional. It follows yesterday's Supreme Court ruling that election officials may count mail-in ballots arriving after Election Day if they were postmarked beforehand. The 5-4 decision strikes down the challenge by the Republican National Committee, and it's a setback for President Trump, who took to Truth Social, writing, quote, "It is more important than ever to pass the Save America Act," writing, "All voters must show photo ID. All voters must show proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel." Yesterday, the justices allowed Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to remain on the job, but in the 6-3 vote, the ruling expanded the presidential powers, allowing the president to fire Federal Trade Commissioner member Rebecca Slaughter. Again, Lawrence, Ainsley, it is another big day ahead with that session beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Ainsley, Lawrence, back to you.
I love the fresh smell of panic in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock and roll. Here we go. It's Tuesday, the last day of June, the 30th, year of our Lord 2026. And today is doomsday for our nation. Some good things coming out of the Supreme Court. Some bad things coming out of the Supreme Court. The future of America hangs in the balance. What is an American? That's a documentary I'm going to make. I'm going to make it whether Matt Walsh wants to make it or not. I don't care. I'll make it by myself. What is an American exactly? That's what we're going to find out today. The citizenship ruling on birthright citizenship happens today. We just had a massive decision from the Supreme Court. We'll get to that in just one moment as Amy Coney Barrett betrays our movement once again yesterday, but also gave President Trump probably the largest boost to executive power in American history. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's a good thing for right now. President Trump can fire anyone. They killed the deep state. They put a bullet in the deep state yesterday. We're going to talk about it as we have a stacked show of incredible guests. Mike Davis will be on the show. Brett Tolman will be on the show. Representative Andy Ogles as well, somebody who's very good on the citizenship question. And Chad Mizelle also joining the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Rumble Wallet. What's in your wallet? Rumble Wallet, ladies and gentlemen. Technology is rapidly improving and moving the spaces in order to ensure that you can tip and contribute to your favorite creators and to the creator economy, and also be part of the movement away from the currencies that are clearly under the control of some real morons on the Federal Reserve. Lisa Cook had a good day at the Supreme Court. Shockingly, yesterday, the Supreme Court decided that Trump can fire everybody who's executing executive power except for people on the Federal Reserve, once again proving that the Federal Reserve is a fourth branch of government. And these are the people that are in control of your money. This is exactly the opposite of what the founders wanted. They did not want centralized control of the currency. This was a huge battle. This is the Hamilton-Jefferson battle of legend. Anyway, the point is that, like, take control. Take control. Rumble Wallet can do it. You can sign up right now for a limited time. If you're among the first 500 people to activate your Rumble account, you can get $10 of U.S. stable coin. Download Rumble right now. Use a promo code Benny10. You can sign up today. So scan the QR code right here. Go to link wallet.rumble.com/Benny. Download Rumble Wallet and enter promo code Benny10. Get $10 off. Get $10 in U.S. stablecoin. Limited time. Offer till June 30th today. So act now. Rumble Wallet. Take control. Okay. Well, we have a massive victory already from the Supreme Court. Not on the birthright citizenship question, but a huge victory nonetheless. I don't know if we have our cheers ready, but here we go. The Supreme Court has ruled in favor of women in women's sports. Thank you. Awesome. So the Supreme Court has ruled that you can ban men kicking women's asses in sports. Sorry, I just I don't like to use naughty adult language on the show, but here it is. Boys are biologically different than women. Not all boys and not all women. But the genetic reality of this, please put up the ruling or put up any like ALX, get like, please produce this. Grab me like a couple of like takes on this. The biological reality, and we're gonna have a ton of breaking. It's like, it feels good. Doesn't feel good to have a breaking news show again. Let's do like more breaking news, right? Like I miss this. This is the bicycle that we've been trained to ride, and it's just been like a long time. Thank you, ALX. Here we go. Supreme Court upholds state laws banning transgender girls and women from athletic school teams. Look at the AP. You can get me a better headline than that. Thank you, ALX. You can do better than that. Let's get rid of this trash, because let's say what it is. This is actually a case. That is reestablishing the realities. Oh, do we have what is a woman? Do we have Ketanji Brown Jackson? Get me Ketanji Brown Jackson. I don't know what a woman is. Not sure what a woman is. Joe Biden. I'm gonna nominate a black woman. Okay, well then what are you, Ketanji Brown Jackson? I don't know. How do you live like this? How do you live like this? Show me the post. Give me the post. Give me the post. Here we go. I can do it. Give me the post. Look at this. This is great. This is amazing. This is one of my all-time favorites. Here we go. What is a woman? Can you provide a definition of a woman? For years, Joe Biden banged on incessantly that he's going to appoint a black woman. But this black woman doesn't know what a woman is. Joe Biden didn't even know who he was. Joe Biden was out of his mind. Is Ketanji Brown Jackson's appointment to the Supreme Court illegal? Well, the Supreme Court just sided and ruled once again that racial discrimination is illegal. You know, if you were to run on saying, I'm going to appoint a white man to the Supreme Court, I'm going to appoint a white man to SCOTUS, then the left would sue you, saying that you're discriminating against all the, Mexicans, Asians, and blacks. But Joe Biden ran on open discrimination against every group, including whites, for Ketanji Brown Jackson's truly low IQ, like basically non-functional, like should be a bus driver in any other, like should be working at a Chipotle in a just society. Ketanji Brown Jackson could rise to the level of middle manager at your community bank. That's how intelligent she is. But Joe Biden says that he's going to discriminate against all men and discriminate against all other races other than black to put Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. I would love, like, my dream is an argument that gets made before the Supreme Court that Ketanji Brown Jackson's appointment is illegal and make them defend it. Make them defend it. Because she should never have been appointed given the illegal qualifications that Joe Biden laid out, which was open discrimination. Oh.
Provide a definition for the word woman.
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry for the audio issue there.
You can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide. So I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about. Just last week, an entire generation of young girls watched as our taxpayer-funded institutions permitted a biological man to compete and beat a biological woman in the NCAA swimming championships.
These are the kind of geniuses that the left has appointed illegally to the Supreme Court. Ketanji Brown Jackson's appointment to the Supreme Court is illegal. It was racially discriminatory. It was sexist. She should be stripped of her robes and have her gavel thrown into a wood chipper. Ketanji Brown Jackson is illegally on the Supreme Court, and we should challenge that. Her nomination was illegal and bigoted and racist. Okay, this ruling, Supreme Court, let's go. SCOTUS rules in favor of states banning transgender athletes from women's sports. Supreme Court voted 6-3 to favor 2 state-level bans of transgender athletes competing in women's scholastic sports. Brett Kavanaugh authored the majority opinion. Well done. Joined by Roberts as well as Clarence Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, Barrett. Question before the court is under Title IX, Equal Protections Clause, 14th Amendment, many schools maintain women's sports, biological females. In other words, courts determine eligibility for women's sports. And the answer is yes. Women's sports is determined by biological sex. Why is this important? Well, we just went through years of libs shrieking in your face and mine that we should trust the science. Trust the science. Well, okay, can we apply that rule here? Because science shows us that in every conceivable, measurable, biological, and cognitive capacity, there are differences. It doesn't make one sex better or worse. That's actually unchristian. God created all of us. We all have value. He created us different. God said, I maketh you man and woman. The first book of Genesis, bro. Down to your very chromosomes, down to your cellular level. You are a woman or a man. Now, with that comes, on average, watch the WNBA. I mean, those women could totally kick my ass, right? Like, geez, I can't. Like, if I were Caitlin Clark right now, I'd be dead. Like what they put her through. I am dead. You know, they pulled a reverse George Floyd on her the other night. Anyway, the point is that, like, on average, not all, but on average, men are 50% stronger than women, have 50% more muscle mass. They're heavier. Their bones are stronger. Men have faster twitch muscles than women. This is why in every single sporting event, men perform better than women on average. Faster mile times, higher jumps, greater capacity to perform, let's say, on a football field, right? Doesn't mean a woman can't go out and, like, make a field goal, but you're not going to see her as a linebacker. Every woman would be destroyed. And that's why you wouldn't see, like, a woman in an MMA fight. Women fight women in MMA fights. And that's fair. There are capacities that women have that are different than men. Like, for instance, if you're looking for advantages, women have higher oxygenation rates, and they get fatigued not as fast as men. And so there's advantages to everything. Who cares? This is a wonderful thing. It's an incredible ruling. There are cognitive advantages. There are cognitive disadvantages. Men and women are different cognitively. Mathematics, sciences, men are more predisposed towards binary thinking. Linguistics, women are more predisposed. That's okay. It's good to say it because that's the way God made it. Well, anyway, well done, Supreme Court. This is a 6-3 ruling, so it's demonstrable. It is a massive ruling, very, very good. Is why it's so cruel. These known, scientifically measured biological differences is why it's so cruel to have men in women's sports. Because a man will kick a woman's ass in any sport on virtually every level and will harm them, will beat them up. Is why we treat with such severity spousal abuse in this nation, in this country. Is why it is incredibly important to keep the mentally ill out of women's sports. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Klein, who does jiu-jitsu. I mean, Klein, there could probably be some women. I don't know. I doubt it, though. I don't know. We've seen some of these women MMA fighters. I'm not saying that they couldn't beat me up. I'm just saying on average. Okay? Klein says that women would beat him in the Great British Baking Show. Fair. That's fair. I mean, if you think women are physically inferior, like, you should get married, have a baby, watch your wife go through labor. God designed us for different things and to do different things well in order for the creation of more human beings, more childhood, more Christians, more Americans. Oh yeah, that's right. Like, in order to give birth to Americans, you should be an American. That's what they're deciding right now. And so that's what we're the most nervous about. It's not out yet, but I put up this banger. I apologize, by the way, for the I didn't have my audio selected correctly. So thank you, Klein, for the assist there. Birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship was never intended to be magic dirt. And that's what it's been reduced to. Magic dirt. So I am against magic dirt. Meaning, my wife and I have had 1 million kids. If we happen to be traveling, which would be insanely reckless in the last months of pregnancy, but if we happen to be traveling to Africa or China or France or Germany or Russia, the fact that I'm standing on their sovereign soil doesn't make me an African or a Frenchman or Japanese. We damn well know that. People know what a Japanese is. And if I'm so reckless and stupid of a man to have my wife flying around the globe 9 months pregnant, and let's just say we happen to give birth in Japan, my kid ain't Japanese. Okay? You ever seen a photo of my family? My kids ain't Japanese. All right? Got nothing against them. In fact, I'd love to visit Japan and Korea. But that ain't, no matter how long I spend there, I ain't ever going to be Japanese. And that's a fact. And so why is it that America is the only country stupid enough to have magic dirt? Well, okay, first off, birthright citizenship was a construction for post-Reconstruction America as it pertains to the children of slaves. And there's a unique snapshot into what that was written. And you can well understand that it's trying to solve a virtually unsolvable problem of citizenry, right? When people were brought here as slaves, how does that confer to citizenship? It's a very bad and a nasty problem to solve. And it was never intended. And this is, of course, why don't we play that? Yeah, let's go with that. Let's let the actual constitutional experts explain that this is, of course, something that was never intended in the writing of this original amendment. Here we go.
Scope of the citizenship clause depends on the original meaning of the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof, as the chairman has mentioned. And because the term jurisdiction is ambiguous, one must look to the history of its use in the clause to help determine its original meaning. And further, because the central purpose of the citizenship clause was to constitutionalize the citizenship provision of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, the search must begin with the text and history of that act. The Civil Rights Act granted citizenship at birth to persons, quote, born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, close quote. The act on its face thus excludes from birthright citizenship American-born children of temporary foreign visitors and illegal aliens, because the child's foreign parents, and thus the child, are by definition subject to a foreign power.
Perfect. Seems like that's 50 seconds right there. Seems like a pretty simple explanation. Here's mine. And I don't consider myself a constitutional scholar, but I do know what's right and what's wrong. And I do know that it's wrong when the wife of a Communist Party high-ranking general is able to travel not too far off China's coast to Guam, pop a baby out, bring that Chinese child who shares the exact same genetics as the Chinese race going back 5,000 years, and the exact same heritage and culture, sensibilities, and DNA hard-coded back to Beijing and raise that child. And that child never steps foot in America. And then by the time that child's 35, they can run for president of the United States. Do you know how obscene that is? Do you know how insulting that is? Like just prima facie? That to us, to heritage Americans, to the people who fought, bled, and died, who like keep this country going by paying obscene taxes and suffering the ineptitudes of our leaders and the like upholding the wholesale collapse of Western civilization. Us? What an insult that is to us. The ones who actually make this place work, the productive part of society instead of the parasite part of society. It, of course, creates more parasites. It creates a parasitic environment where you are just doing birth tourism for the benefits, for the vibes, for the memes. And it reduces our citizenship to magic dirt. There's no such thing as magic dirt. America is not magic dirt. America is a sovereign nation with a heritage, a people that belong here, and people that don't belong here because they don't share our culture and they don't share our understanding of Western civilization. That is, dating all the way back to Rome, something that's real and something that defines cultures. And you can see when you travel the world, the differences between them. And so no, giving birth or standing on America does not make you an American. We know what an American is. It is definable. It is the single most important thing on earth because Western civilization, the bedrock of it, is equal justice before the law. It's biblical. Mercy to the innocent and justice to the criminal. The foundation of everyone equal before God. That is all Christendom. All of that comes from Christian. It doesn't come from any other religion or any other background or any other ideology on earth. It comes from Western Christendom, that we are equal before our Lord and Savior, that all of us are created equal, that all of us have a fresh start, and all souls are valuable. That doesn't mean that all souls should come here. In fact, it means the opposite. It means you need to protect that. Very much so against the tribal blood wars of the entire rest of the world, or the atheism of the entire rest of the world. I call them bugs civilizations, where people are bugs. They're treated like bugs. Modern day China is a great example of this. Every single communist nation is a great example of this. People are numbers on a ledger. And you just push them into the mass graves with a bulldozer by the millions because they don't mean anything. I don't want those people here. I don't want people with that ideology here. I don't want people with an ideology that says that Islam is the greatest and Muslims need to be treated differently in special courts. I don't want any type of supremacist ideology that there's some type of like sacred people. No, that was done away with. It was done away with in our New Testament and a new covenant with the true church and the Christian people. And that's the way that we should live. And we should protect that as in Western society. Next ruling here is on the FEC. Okay. So this has already been a good day at the Supreme Court. Pray that we make the correct decision, that there is no such thing as magic dirt, and that being an American means something. That, let's see, how's this done? It's done pretty good. I just posted it up. Culturally suicidal, reduces the value of citizenship and cultural heritage. It is an insult that an illiterate voodoo practicing Haitian can touch the southern border wall, give birth, and that child is magically as American as you or I. In fact, the only people that have no rights in all of this under birthright citizenship are the people who are born here. Sorry for yelling. The only people that are having their culture and heritage robbed from them under birthright citizenship are us. People whose family has been here for 200 years. Fought, bled, broke bones, and died for this country. Both grandpappies serving in World War II, same as yours. Some of y'all can go right back to the Civil War. Shout out in the comments if you can. You go right back to the Civil War? Can some of you go back to the Revolutionary War? I bet you can. And they're telling us that a voodoo practicing witchcraft Haitian who touched the southern border wall, that they're as American as me and you. No. It should end today. We should pray for it. It should end today. The Supreme Court ruled that there's limits on the amount of money that political parties can spend in coordination with the candidate for federal office. Violates the First Amendment. Huge implications for midterm elections. So wait a second. So there's no limits. The limits on the amount of money that political parties can spend in coordination with a candidate for federal office violates the First Amendment. Huge implications for the midterms. Wow. NRSC versus FEC. Goodness gracious. So this holds that there's unlimited, that you can do unlimited spending. Is that correct? Yes, it lifted all the limits. Yeah. Goodness. Wow. Well, get going, Elon. Crazy, man. Okay. So we have Andy Ogles locked and ready to go. I just want to tear through one more thing really quickly here, which is this. President Trump, because I don't want to black pill, and I'm worried about the birthright citizenship question before the court, but I do want to get to a win yesterday. Obviously, Amy Coney Barrett decided on a very narrow question about votes being counted after Election Day. That was very, very bad. But I think that we can win that over time. I think that that's something that can be won and argued in a different way. It had to do with Mississippi in a very specific, narrow question. And I think there's a lot of fixes to that, frankly. A lot of them are in Congress, and Andy Ogles will be on to pop off about it. President Trump was given more power than any president in the last 100 years yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something called the vesting clause in Article 2. Executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States of America. This is very unique. Andy Ogles will be on. He's a member of Congress. The legislative power is vested in hundreds of men and women in Congress, okay? There's only one branch of government that is imbued into a single sole man, and that's the executive branch, and it's awesomely powerful. It makes the executive branch certainly as close to a mandate from heaven as we got in this country. It's as close to a king as we have in this country. That's why the founders argued over the executive branch more than any other branch. The judicial branch is obviously reduced all the way through like hundreds of different branches of the judiciary. So it's like extremely distributed. The executive branch has the vesting clause, and this is critical. It says that the executive power, the executive branch, is in one man, and that one man makes the decision for the entire branch. He is the king in the sense of this branch of government, 3 co-equal branches. Well, ladies and gentlemen, President Trump went ahead and fired people in the executive branch, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can do that. They overturned a 90-year-old precedent that says that there are independent agencies that exercise executive power but cannot have executive power exercised over them. What the hell is that? You can't be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company if there are separate parts of the company that can betray you and defy you. You can't be a general of an army if there's a bunch of units that can betray you and defy you. You have to have full authority to immediately slit throats, hire, fire, reduce pay, totally end entire segments of the country, or make decisions on the battlefield. If you want a leader, you have to have the leadership power. Otherwise, there's no point in it. And so that's what's been done. This is the deep state. If there's anything that's the deep state, it's this. It's the institutional executive that weaponizes the power of the presidency without any oversight from the people. And the Supreme Court ended it yesterday, and it's critical, ladies and gentlemen, a massive victory. Biggest decision today by a mile, many legal experts are saying. And this gets rid of something called Humphrey's executor that said that, the president actually can't fire lifelong bureaucrats. And now Trump can. Trump was celebrating this, of course, on Truth Social, having a field day. Very good. This is the death knell for the deep state. So that is positive. We'll wait for the actual ruling. Ladies and gentlemen, bringing in Congressman Andy Ogles now live. Let's go. Congressman, thank you so much for joining the program once again. The birthright citizenship question. You've actually cemented yourself as one of the few members of Congress with the balls to actually talk about what it means to be an American. Like, what is an American exactly?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the
Isn't
nail
an
on.
American, you know? And so, like, so your take on the birthright citizenship question, please.
Well, it's incredibly important, and so we'll see what the Supreme Court says. If I had to guess, and this is always risky, is they will punt it back to Congress. And so I'm going to be offering legislation that'll address that, but we can talk about that in a moment. But you hit the nail on the head. You can literally have a voodoo worshiping whatever from Haiti,
Yes,
and suddenly is an American. Or more sinister, when you hear about birthright citizenship, it kind of has a benign type of title. But the reality is that you could have someone who was born in Guam, who is Chinese, their heritage is communism, and they're going to be United States to run for president in 15, 20, 25 years and fully funded by the Communist Chinese Party. And so that is the implication if we don't fix this, is that you literally could have a Manchurian candidate from a foreign nation that wants to destroy America be funded from overseas money to destroy this country and bring it to its knees. Not on my watch. I'm sick and tired of this crap. And by the way, the Supreme Court today has done some incredible work in the decisions of, again, attacking the deep state, which has been undermining the conservative movement. You saw that during Trump's first term, where the deep state literally did everything they could to work against the president.
So it looks like here the Supreme Court has just ruled against the president's administration in upholding the birthright citizenship for, we're getting this right now. We're getting this in AL.
Not surprising, by the way.
Yeah, not surprising. It's something that we expected. But here's the actual ruling. And we're getting, but the takeaway is that the Supreme Court has upheld birthright citizenship, specifically for criminal aliens and illegals that are here, which is just an obscenity. Children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment's Citizenship Clause. That is the final ruling opinion here.
So this is where, we're locked and loaded. So we'll have a piece of legislation that will drop called Anchors Away, which is going to define that section of the Constitution and the law, so that if you come here for the purposes of birthright citizenship, that we will define that, no, you're not a citizen. And ultimately, I think that there will be lawsuits and it'll go back to the Supreme Court, but you have to create a mechanism where you can challenge a ruling like that, which again was narrow in scope. But that being said, this is the legislative body. We get to decide who comes into this country, and we get to decide who leaves. So Anchors Away is going to be the next step in fighting against this invasion from China and Haiti and all over the world where people are coming here to undermine this country.
What about ending the welfare state? That also, of course, is the reason why everybody wants to go and have a baby on American soil, is because it entitles you to gratuitous levels of permanent welfare and privileges because of the now magic dirt that has been now magic dirt is now the law once again of the land. It's been the law of the land. We functioned like this. We functioned under birthright citizenship for as long as the 14th Amendment's been written. And
and the original intent of that, and we can't litigate the past. This is the hand that we've been dealt. But you're talking about the cost to America. So let's look under the Biden administration. We've talked about this before. 200,000 Afghanis came to the United States of America. What you would hope is that anybody comes to this country, they get a job, they work, they pay taxes, they contribute to society. But the Afghanis, those 200,000, over 50% are on welfare. Over 70% are getting free health care. Oh, by the way, we have veterans still killing themselves at a rate of 20 to 22 a day. Oh, by the way, we have kids in the 3rd grade that can't read, write, and do arithmetic, and they're destined to go to prison because of that. If I have to choose between Americans or some illegal that's scripting off society, I choose Americans. And so we've got to fight back against this type of welfare state and, quite frankly, the deep state.
So you actually bring up, I think, a very interesting point here, which is that instead of doing the actual hard work in Congress, Republicans and Democrats just sit there and get down on their knees and worship at the Supreme Court.
Right.
Just pray that these berobed mystics who, I mean, it is mystical, right? It is Barrett's and Roberts, of course, who sided with the libs and now allow for infinity, the infinity children of the third world to all become Americans magically on our soil, if they could just get here. It'd be much easier to just pass a law. I mean, maybe not easier, but the way the system's supposed to work is what you're talking about here, Congressman.
That's right.
That Congress says, no, this is insane, and we need to fix this immediately, and go through the legislative process, and then the president signs it into law. And then there really isn't any judicial review. That's just the way the system works, right? Like
the way it's supposed to work.
Judicial review is made up, by the way, and so then you get that law passed by Republicans. I mean, if you can pass the SAVE Act, you certainly can end birthright citizenship by law. Is that correct? Are we following correctly?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no reason to give up, throw up our hands in this moment. Again, this is the hand, this is the battle that we're facing. And so let's go on the offense. And so Angers Away is going to address this. Yes, it would get challenged in the courts. And by the way, our founding fathers warned us against this all-powerful judiciary that is literally like the legislative branch is supposed to. We've got to pull back and fight for that power. And the way to do that is to go on offense and to show the country, to show the people that there are separate branches of power. There are separate branches within the government, and we're going to turn that power and that authority to legislate. And so I'm not going to sit back and let this happen to our country, because, again, I warn you, there is a Manchurian candidate that has been born on this soil that is going to be sent to this country to run for president to undermine this country. I don't know who he or she is, but they've been born and they're on their way. And I'm not going to stand by and let it happen.
That's exactly right. Everybody sort of breathes a sigh of relief that Zoran Mandami can't legally run for president. But guess what? They already have like 50 Zoran Mandamis cooking in the laboratory right now.
Absolutely, or more, for that matter.
Of course. I mean, we've seen this happen. It's central casting. This is the same thing with the AOC.
That's right.
They did this thing with the AOC. It's all central casting. So like John Ossoff, nobody even knows who the hell that guy is. But suddenly out of nowhere, right? He's just selected.
Yeah.
To be something, some magical thing. Yeah.
And I guarantee you at some point, Mamdani's running for governor. He's going to run for the U.S. Senate. Like they don't plan on just leaving him in the mayor's office. Like, this is central casting. It's planning. Millions of dollars, hundreds of $1 millions will be always behind this guy. And he's a threat to the, really the security of our country. When you have someone who does not love this country, he's from a faith that hates this country, and he's now the mayor of the economic center of this country. Holy crap. And oh, by the way, the terrorism resources that he has at his fingertips. Can anyone remember 9/11? Again, this guy hates us, hates this country, and he talks about the fact that he hates this country. New York, wake up. Now, he did lie on his N-400. My remigration bill addresses that, which he could be denaturalized and he could be deported if we can get remigration passed, which is ultimately my goal. You're welcome, New York.
So if he lied on his federal form, wouldn't that just be a DHS thing? Wouldn't you call upon DHS to do a full review, just like with Ilhan Omar? It seems like they already got the bullet loaded into the metaphorical gun there in order to fix these problems, like from a paperwork litigation standpoint.
So
I mean, the vice president tells me that they have all the documents on Ilhan Omar, and that the White House is convinced that she committed immigration fraud. It's not the first time I've heard that from DHS. So what's stopping them from doing that?
That is housed at DOJ currently. So my remigration bill would move it over to Immigration and Customs. And instead of being a criminal and legal proceeding, it would be an administrative proceeding, which, the hurdles in your appeals are much more simpler and streamlined. And so you literally could denaturalize tens of thousands of people a day across cities all over this country. That's how you get these illegals who are drifting off society out of this country. Look, if you want to come back in, you have to do it the right way. You can't come here illegally. But someone like Mondani, who lied on his N-400, who became a U.S. citizen under false pretense, he should be eligible to be denaturalized and deported. And again, he literally is here to undermine this country and our republic.
So what needs to happen next? Because obviously with a ruling like this, and of course you have Roberts writing the majority opinion here, Sotomayor, Kagan, Barrett, and Jackson. It's funny here, Congressman, because you never see Sotomayor, Kagan, or Jackson joining with the conservatives ever doing anything.
Right. It's the same cast, right? Every time.
You'd never see them join. It's only ever us that gets cucked. It's only ever us that has these weaklings that we put on the Supreme Court. I don't know. What do you like? I think that Amy Coney Barrett may end up going down in history as the single worst decision that Trump made. There's a lot of people saying that. Mike Davis will be on the show later. He's the guy who was really pushing for her. So I look forward to seeing what Mike Davis has to say about this.
Yeah, give him a hard time. Tell him
I will.
Give him a hard time.
I will.
But, what is the next step? One is we need the American people to engage. Look, I'm just one man in Congress. I'm one of 435. I need reinforcements. I need that echo chamber. I need people to reach out to their member of Congress, to their U.S. senator and say, enough is enough. We can take this country back. Look, I'm not saying that you can't have or allow people to come into this country. What I'm saying is you come here the right way. That if you're coming here to this country, we should know who you are and why you want to be here. Before you get to this country, you should have a job. You can't just come here and grift off of society. Look, again, we have our own priorities. We're barreling towards $40 trillion in debt. And like I said, we have veterans and children who need services more than we should be spending on these illegals. So again, this is these are kitchen table type of conversations that when you cut through party politics, at the end of the day, most people agree on. But that only works and that only happens if we, the people, stand up and demand it. And that's where your viewers and the American people, it's on you now.
Well, I mean, you can always fix these things through laws, right?
Working on it.
You can always fix these things through laws. A final question for you. I'm seeing this a lot, like as people bring up the amount of welfare. I mean, the only reason really you'd want to engage in birthright citizenship is the lavish luxuries that America affords all of its citizens in order to be on permanent welfare. We should fix that in Congress, right? Like, shouldn't there be a ban on just arriving here and then getting welfare?
Absolutely.
Doesn't that already exist? Like what's going on there? It seems like cutting that off would be actually the fastest way to fix this problem.
Yeah, you take the money away, suddenly there's no motivation to come here. So I think for most individuals from most countries, they want a better way of life. It is the American dream. And regardless of what the libtard media may say, it's the most coveted passport in the world. It's the most powerful passport in the world, with one exception as far as motivation, and that is China. And I think their motivations for having this birthright citizenship is much more sinister. They're very good at playing the long game. They think in terms of dynasties. They think in terms of 100 years, not 1 to 5 years. And so the reason why they want so many individuals from their country with dual citizenship who have rights in America is, like I said before, someone has been born on U.S. soil that is a Chinese citizen that will have the right to ascend to the presidency of the United States. And if that does not scare you, then you're not paying attention.
Congressman Andy Ogles is a man who is willing to actually step on this line. Nobody ever talks about what is an American. Nobody ever asked that question. This man does, and we're thankful for him. Ladies and gentlemen, follow Andy Ogles here. He obviously has some solutions to some very tough questions. It's a disappointing but predictable result here today. We got to be just smarter as Republicans who we appoint to the Supreme Court. What a loss. What a loss. John Roberts could side all day with the left, but like but Amy Coney Barrett doing it like is such a betrayal to all of us. Ugh. All right, Congressman. Thank you for
hanging there,
giving us.
Praying.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Our God's bigger. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you, Congressman.
Take care.
Godspeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a spectacular next guest, Chad Mizelle, who is the former chief of staff at the Department of Justice, working for President Trump, and general counsel to the United States Department of Homeland Security. He's perfect person to talk to at this exact moment, and we're proud to have him on the show, Chad Mizelle, right now. Chad, I wish that you were joining us on a different ruling, but we just got the Birthright Citizenship ruling. Here it's going to disappoint quite a lot of people, but the Supreme Court said, no, it's magic dirt, and the magic dirt makes you an American. And so if you're a voodoo practicing Haitian that just touched the border wall and you gave birth, your child's now an American, which seems suicidal and very insulting culturally to heritage Americans, and seems to be reducing our citizenship again to magic dirt. But your take on this, since you are actually the legal professional, and what perhaps should be the next steps?
Ben, I agree with everything you just said. The problem is that you have to look at the time the 14th Amendment was passed. What was going on in our nation's history? We had just fought the bloodiest war that our nation had ever done. We had the Dred Scott ruling, which was talking about Black Americans, and said that Black Americans were not actually Americans because they were previously slaves into this country. So that was what was being addressed. Right? And whenever you looked at like the reason for their addressing it, the Black Americans in the United States, they owed allegiance to no other foreign country. They had fought in our battles. These are the points that Justice Thomas made in dissent, right? These were actual Americans. And so we needed a constitutional provision to protect them. But what we didn't do, and what we never intended to do, and what the framers would be of the 14th Amendment would be rolling in their graves to find out, is that a Chinese national who without a visa, by the way, can go to Northern Mariana Islands and have a child, now has a U.S. citizen. They can leave, go back to China, and now that person can come into the United States as they please as a passport-holding citizen of the United States. That is not in any way what the 14th Amendment was intended to protect.
So, yeah, I mean, it's an obscenity. It seems to be reducing our country to just passport bros and people that want the gratuitous benefits of being an American without ever paying taxes or fighting in our wars. And so what happens next? I mean, what is the solution here? You worked at the DOJ, you worked at the Department of Homeland Security. Obviously, there's going to be very great frustrations with this. What should happen next?
I think we really need to do two things. First, I think we really should be launching a public campaign about what is American citizenship. And it's fundamentally about allegiance. I think one of the very first things Congress can do is ban dual citizens. How can you have an allegiance to two different nations, right? The Bible even talks about you can't serve two masters, right? So it makes perfect sense to say you can't be a national of China and the United States, particularly those two nations that are literally competing with each other on a massive global scale. So I think that's one of the very first things Congress can do, because we really need to reframe how we think about citizenship. This isn't Boy Scout tokens and cards that you can just continue racking up and racking up and racking up. The country to whom you owe allegiance is singular, and it is fundamental, and it is important. And so the notion that you can go around and collect dual citizenship or triple citizenship, I mean, is absolutely insane. So I think that's the very first thing we need to do. The second thing I think we need to do is be incredibly strict about who is entering our country. If you entering our country and stepping on our soil now means that you can give birth to a U.S. citizen, then we need to wholly rewrite all of these laws. It should be a ground of inadmissibility. If you are 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant, you're planning to come here, we just say, no, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to come to the United States. You are going to give birth to someone who is going to forever be declared a U.S. citizen. You are prohibited from entering the United States. You can go give birth back home. And then once that's done, if you have a lawful visa, then you can come in temporarily on business, pleasure, whatever it is. But you're not going to come here pregnant, because that is going to undermine our laws.
What about Congress reversing what about Congress passing a law that eliminates birthright citizenship? What is the pathway to doing that and having the president sign it and like building a movement that people say, no, this is not the way that our system should work?
Yeah, unfortunately, the way the Supreme Court wrote the decision, they took that option off the table. So they said, as a matter of the 14th Amendment, right, as a matter of the Constitution, it guarantees citizenship to children born in the territorial jurisdiction of the United States, subject to a couple of different exceptions, which don't particularly apply here. Kavanaugh actually, in his separate opinion, said, I disagree on the constitutional grounds. I'm basing my opinion on the statutory grounds. So he actually sided with the outcome of the majority, but based it on the statute. Had that been the majority's holding, then Congress could go in, amend the statute, and actually change birthright citizenship. But at this point, we'd actually have to amend the Constitution.
Which would be quite a battle.
That's right. That's right. Effectively impossible.
So I guess you need to just create. So Republicans just have to win, and if we open the border one more time, then the nation's over. Is that what you're saying?
Republicans have to win. I think that's first. And Congress needs to act, right? Not only pass the Save America Act, which you have been beating and pounding, and Republicans across the country have been beating and pounding the lawmakers to do, but we have to continue to be serious about immigration enforcement. Our borders are closed, but we also need to close some of the visa loopholes. Again, a Chinese national today without a visa can go to the Northern Mariana Islands, have a child, and that child is considered a U.S. citizen. What a massive loophole in our system. Congress needs to close that immediately.
So what would be then some of the, so the recourses are limited now. So we're stuck with birthright citizenship forever.
We're stuck with it until the Constitution changes, which is not going to happen anytime soon.
Sucks, man. Tough. It's a tough role. What the hell's going on with Amy Coney Barrett? Like, what is this exactly? Like, why are we always such idiots? Why is it always Republican? There's no such thing as like a David Souter or a Sandra Day O'Connor of the left. That doesn't happen. Sonia Sotomayor is never siding with the Republicans. That never happens. Right? Maybe Kagan every once in a blue moon. But like Ketanji Brown Jackson, like they have established a left wing on the Supreme Court. They never bend or break. But it's only us who are imbeciles who get duped into playing some type of, I guess, diversity quota game with our Supreme Court justices. It always ends up like that. And then they turn into liberals like immediately as soon as they get on the court. And I don't care. Sorry that I'm just complaining about this, but you seem to be a learned man who knows these systems and have worked inside of these systems better than I, and far more than I. I just don't get, I don't understand why it's always us who get betrayed, right? The left never does this with their Supreme Court selections. But we seem to do it one out of every two selections to the court. We play some stupid game. We play some Russian roulette with our pick. It's dumb.
Benny, I actually think it's a bigger problem, right? If you
Please.
take a step back and look at the Republican Party writ large, right? Generally speaking, we've had this big tent conservatism, which works in certain contexts, and it works for election. And there are certainly issues that we're united upon. But whenever it comes down to doing hard things, passing the Save America Act, how many Senate Republicans, right? Senate Republicans who 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, people looked up to as the champions of liberty, the champions of justice, who are now afraid of their own shadow. They won't even, take seriously some of the arguments from Mike Lee and others about getting rid of the filibuster, putting in a talking filibuster. So the whole party has become fractured, I think, into the old wave, the old generation who wants to ignore that Donald Trump was arrested, prosecuted by political enemies, who want to ignore the complete weaponization of DOJ, who want to ignore the fact that Biden let in 20 million illegal aliens into the country. They want to pretend like that never happened and go back to the 80s era of Reagan, where Republicans were here, Democrats were here. Maybe we were a little off from each other, but relatively pretty close. They don't realize that that's not the party we're living in. That the party we're living in is one that wants to take your kids from, or the world we're living in is one where Democrats want to take your kids from you. They want to teach them radical gender ideology. And if you as a parent try to step in and say, no, I don't want my kid to learn that, they're saying, well, are you really fit to be a parent? Should we take your kids away from you? If you're contesting what we're trying to teach your kids, do we need to do something? And you have so many members of the Republican Party who refuse to take a stand. So I really think that what we're seeing is fundamentally a divide in the Republican Party between the old guard and the new guard, right? We saw what happened with Donald Trump. We understand how the left weaponized government to accomplish their aims. And now we're watching Donald Trump very successfully use government to actually accomplish conservative ends, over the objection, by the way, of a number of conservatives who are raising their hands and saying, no, don't push the button. Don't use the power. They're afraid to govern, Benny. Right. And that is fundamentally the problem. And that is fundamentally why, if we don't get this straightened out, voters are not going to send them back to be in power.
So you were very quickly here. You were general counsel at DHS, and yes. and so much of the question about the Trump agenda like centers through DHS and on immigration questions and the way immigration law is written. And the White House tells me, and you can see it in the documentation, that guys like Zorhan Mandami, people like Ilhan Omar, they have cheated and defrauded the federal government and through this immigration process. What should happen to them? Like what could be the recourse if what you just talked about, if like the Trump agenda was just ruthlessly enacted? What would happen?
If you lied on any immigration form, regardless of your popularity, regardless of whether you're an elected official, if you lied on an immigration form to defraud the United States in order to obtain U.S. citizenship, you need to be denaturalized and deported. That should be the only remedy for individuals like that. Right now, we're afraid to go after big targets. Hey, if some guy you've never heard of, sure, we can denaturalize him and deport him. But somebody has a following on X, somebody has a podcast, we can't touch those people. That cannot be our philosophy.
That's a great point. Did you ever see Ilhan Omar's file? Did you ever see what was going on there?
I think that you and your viewers are going to be happy from my understanding of some of the actions, the aggressive actions that the administration is going to take on denaturalizations. I can't speak specifically about her file or sort of anybody else, but my understanding is that there are some aggressive actions in the work on denaturalizations.
So you did see her file. Oh my. I got a lot of little birdies at DHS that tell me a lot of very interesting things about Ilhan Omar's background. Seems like she's not playing with a full deck.
You know what? I think one of the things that you've talked about on your show before, Benny, is that there's this line between a bunch of NGOs and nonprofits that are working to sabotage the United States. Code Pink, Neville Singham, all of that kind of stuff. It would not surprise me if some of these leaders of the left, Ilhan Omar, Mandami, others, end up getting caught up in some of those pretty serious investigations.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we saw Neville Singham yesterday. Okay. Chad, please come back. I have like 50 other questions, but we got to keep moving here. Everybody follow Chad Mizelle. Obviously, he's a man who really understands these systems and a man who's working for. And I love your message today. Like, why don't we just wield power? Just like why don't we just have the guts to wield power? Chad, that is the right message. Godspeed, man.
Thanks, Benny. Thanks for having me.
I say this and I mean it. You don't need an introduction for Mike Davis. He's been coming on this show for 7 years. He's the absolute brawler. And I bet that, I bet he's particularly red this morning. I bet he's beat red. Let's find out, ladies and gentlemen, because he's been beaten now at the Supreme Court because he loved Amy Coney Barrett when she came through the docket. And now, oh boy, we'll see if Mike Davis has his comeuppance. Live now. Beat down. Poor Mike. He loved Amy Coney Barrett. You just loved her. You were in love with her. You were this close to adopting a Haitian child with her. And now look at you, Mike.
Yeah, Ben, today's Supreme Court ruling by the Chief Justice, John Roberts, joined by Professor Amy Coney Barrett and the three leftists in a 5-1 to 3 ruling. The five wrote that we apparently fought a civil war and enacted the birthright citizenship provision, not to give birthright citizenship to the children of the freed slaves and overturn the Dred Scott decision, but that's now been expanded to Chinese birth tourists. 1.5 million and counting Chinese birth tourists can now get birthright citizenship, where these Chinese mothers come to America, give birth to their Chinese kids, fly back to China, never step foot in America again. And under this ruling today by John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett and the three liberals, the 14th Amendment gives that Chinese baby birthright citizenship for the rest of that kid's life, where that kid gets Social Security. He gets all the benefits of citizenship. That kid, when he turns 18, can vote, mail his ballot into America from Beijing, mail that ballot to America, where this baby has never stepped foot again since his birth 18 years prior. That is what this Supreme Court decision does. That Chinese birth tourist gets birthright citizenship. This is egregiously wrong by John Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett, and the three liberals. We did not fight a civil war and pass the birthright citizenship provision to do this. The birthright citizenship provision says that you're born in the United States and you're subject to the jurisdiction, you get birthright citizenship. You have to have both. American Indians did not have birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment. Congress had to pass a statute to give American Indians birthright citizenship because American Indians were not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They were subject to the jurisdiction of their tribe. So if American Indians do not have birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment, how the hell do Chinese birth tourists, how do Tren de Aragua kids, how do MS-13 kids, how do all these illegal aliens who come in here, birth tourists? This is the most egregious violation imaginable of we the people, the sovereign citizens of America, of our most crucial sovereign power to control our border and to control our populace. It is almost impossible to change this now. We have to pass a constitutional amendment to change this.
So states would need to get together in a constitutional convention that I don't think has happened maybe ever, and then change this.
Yeah, and again, it's 5-1 to 3. Justice Kavanaugh would have decided this on statutory grounds. It's still bad and wrong, but not nearly as egregiously bad and wrong as the Chief Justice and Amy Coney Barrett and the three liberals did by constitutionalizing birthright citizenship for Chinese birth tourists. Think about that. And then the three real constitutionalists, Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, and Justice Gorsuch, my old boss, correctly dissented and said, no, this is not what the 14th Amendment says. It's subject to the jurisdiction, which means allegiance to the United States, not allegiance to China or to some other foreign country. And if we want to give birthright citizenship to Chinese birth tourists as we the people, we can do that. We can have our elected members of Congress do that like they did for American Indians in 1924. But now this has been constitutionalized. This can no longer be debated. This is as bad. This is as bad of a decision as you can get from the Supreme Court. It is the most narcissistic decision imaginable out of the Chief Justice John Roberts, and he's a narcissist, but this takes it to a whole new level. And of course, Professor Amy Coney Barrett joined this decision. I won't even go there because I'm too angry, but it's just unbelievable that they can just scratch out subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and the 14th Amendment and hand out birthright citizenship to every illegal alien, including Chinese birth tourists who come and step foot in America and give birth.
You know, I'm a big fan of Mike Davis. And Mike, you've been so right on this program. But you also have to take your lumps here because you were a huge proponent of Amy Coney Barrett. And now she has backstabbed us. And no, I'm not going to accept some weasel word argument but she's good on like boys and women's sports or like the Catholic Church. She's bad on the two questions that actually matter for the sovereignty and the continuation of Western civilization. which is immigration, and then the powers to enforce immigration. She's bad on those. She's atrocious on those. And so this seems like a massive blind spot in the people that were supporting Amy Coney Barrett. How do you feel today?
I think it was the biggest mistake imaginable supporting Amy Coney Barrett. I think she is a disaster for the Supreme Court. She is, as I've said, a rattled law professor with her head up her ass, and she thinks that she is the smartest person in the room, and she's not. She's the junior varsity justice, and she thinks that she's grading law school exams instead of exercising sound judgment. We know why the Chief Justice does what he does. This is all about a vanity project for him. It's about his image. He's very chiefy, and he put his vanity today over our sovereignty, and it is unacceptable. It is inexcusable. We'll never come back from this as a country. And so here's the solution going forward: is we need to there is no excuse now from Senate Republicans. They must pass the Save America Act. And there's no excuse from Mark Wayne Mullen or anyone else in the Trump administration. We need to mass deport every illegal alien, not just the violent criminals, all of them, and especially the birthing age women, the birthing persons, as Democrats call these people. We need to get them the hell out of our country, because we did not sign up for this. We did not sign up for Chinese birth tourists coming to America, having their Chinese kids, and canceling our votes from Beijing. This is again the most egregious violation of our most crucial sovereign power as we the people, to decide who comes and goes and who becomes one of us. The Chief Justice is shameful for what he did today, because he put his vanity, the John Roberts show, over our sovereignty.
But we all know who John Roberts was, and we've known who John Roberts was for 30 years. We've known what John Roberts was going to do to us. We didn't know what Amy Coney Barrett is a much more fresh betrayal, and a betrayal that I thought that we were smart enough to never make again. You and I lived through Sandra Day O'Connor, David Souter. We lived through that, where Republicans got a chance to remake the court, and we chose liberals as our choice. Now, Democrats never make that decision. Democrats would reanimate the corpses of Joseph Stalin, V.I. Lenin, and Che Guevara and put them on the court if they could. Yeah, you and I both know that. So, why are we so stupid, Mike? Why are we so weak? Why are we so dumb? Well, and you were part of this decision, and I love you as a friend, but you saw it from the inside. So can you tell? Was she lying? Yes. Were we going too fast? Yes. Were we going too fast? What was this?
No, Ben, she lied. She auditioned as a constitutionalist. She auditioned as the next Justice Scalia, for whom she clerked. She auditioned as this conservative constitutionalist law professor. That's how she auditioned. It was a fraud. She is a fraud. She lied through the process. Or it could be one of two things. She lied in her audition when she sold herself as a constitutionalist, and so did her people. All of her former clerks and everyone else sold her as a constitutionalist to me and many others. And I'll call them out by name at some point. Or she got rattled on the bench when they showed up at her house with her kids. She got scared, she got rattled, and she pivoted. She went into, I'm going to be a mother and be a mother hen and protect my kids and do what the left wants, because I don't want them to come to my house and kill my family. Who knows? It's one of those two things. But this Amy Coney Barrett that we see today with this birthright citizenship decision, that's not how she auditioned for the job, not even close. So she's either a fraud or she's too scared to do her job. Either way, she should resign. She's not up to the job.
It's like her old boss, Antonin Scalia, is like snapping his gavel in his grave right now over this decision. Am I correct?
I can't speak for Justice Scalia, but if one of my law clerks sold herself as the next me to get a job and then she goes and betrays that, I would be pretty angry.
Yeah. What should Republicans learn? there were other options, right? There's so many other people that we could have pushed for this open seat in 2020. And I guess it just seems like like deception tactics and some slick marketing worked here. What should we learn going into heading into the future? Because Mike, it's just a trend that's been here my whole life. And you know what's amazing is that Ketanji Brown Jackson, as much as you and I might want to make fun of her and everything, she's never going to side. At least the Democrats get that right. She'll never side with the Republicans on anything.
No,
forever. For the rest of time. For the next 50 effing years, Mike, they will have a permanent vote against, on the court. Right?
Yeah, I want 9 Ketanji Brown Jacksons on the right. I want 9 of them. I just want dumb justices who will fall in line, right? And not justices who think they're the smartest people in the room, like Amy Coney Barrett, or justices who care only about their image, like John Roberts.
It just seems like we make bad. It just seems like maybe I don't know how. I don't know why we just keep making bad decisions. I don't know. I'm just complaining about it as much as anyone else. I don't know why we keep making these decisions and why we're so susceptible to this. Obviously, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch have been really good. Kavanaugh a little squishy on here and there, but he's been really solid on a lot of these questions.
Kavanaugh's been mostly good, Ben, but he screwed us today on birthright citizenship too. He said, I would give birthright citizenship under a statute and not a constitutional amendment. That's better, at least. I mean, it's very
Congress.
hard. It's very hard to amend statutes, but there's almost no chance we can amend the 14th Amendment to fix this. I would say this about my old boss, who I championed, Justice Gorsuch. He got it wrong on Bostock, but he has not been wrong on any of these cases the entire term. He's been rock solid. He's the only Trump justice who's been rock solid. The other one, Kavanaugh, is the less bad. But Barrett's just been awful on the most crucial cases.
I love that she's so young, too, because we're going to have to deal with this for the rest of our lives now. This is great. It's amazing. It's amazing. So now it should be a 6-3 majority till the end of time. And now it's just going to be 5-4 the rest of our lives. Sucks, dude.
Or 6-3 against us, like we just saw with birthright citizenship.
Right. Oh, dude. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Very, very quickly here, I know you have a heart out. The Trump Justice Department seems to be moving swiftly. And I've loved some of the Neville Singham stuff from yesterday. Todd Blanche seems to be in the absolute zone. What can we expect out of the Trump Justice Department heading into the midterms? Obviously, Republicans are looking for wins. People are looking for the gears to actually grind on the Act Blue stuff, on Dr. Fauci stuff. Mike, can you give us a preview and a landscape for Todd Blanche?
Todd Blanche will be confirmed by August recess. We'll make damn sure that happens at the Article 3 project. Todd Blanche is the right man for the right job at the right time, because he has lived through the Democrats' lawfare for years. He knows what the job is. He knows what he has to do, and he's going to get the job done. Expect movement out of the grand jury in the Southern District of Florida.
On the grand conspiracy case.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Godspeed. Fun convo, as always. And everybody follow Mike Davis. He is a man, as we all are, and perpetually disappointed by the political game, as you all must be, right? We always end up in the same spot, if you play this game. You get disappointed.
Thank you for supporting Amy Coney Barrett, Ben. And it was we will not make that mistake again.
Okay, that's right. See you in the gulags, Mike.
Yeah, see ya.
Yeah. The gulags. Why are we so stupid? He's right. I mean, they told me you could probably go through and find clips of me or posts from me supporting Amy Coney Barrett's nomination. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump nominated her, right? And Mitch McConnell, apparently Mitch McConnell called Trump the night that Ginsburg died and said, you must appoint Amy Coney Barrett. That should have been the first red flag. But the year was 2020, and so many different things were happening. It was an insane time. There was open insurrection in every single American city, BLM, Antifa, roving mobs, COVID. I mean, the world had gone insane. And so maybe jurisprudence, the walls were down a little bit. And maybe they used that opportunity, perhaps, in order to sneak on what is a secret liberal who has sabotaged everything. Oh, it's awful. Ladies and gentlemen, the only way to fix this is to lock in as patriots and to support each other. We can do this. If birthright citizenship is the law of the land, then you can just make sure that make extreme visa limitations. You can close our borders. You can elect Republican hardliners on immigration. You can stop criminal immigration to our country. That's a good start. That's a great start. And so there are ways to fix this. Unfortunately, the easy fix was there at the Supreme Court. An easy fix for you as we load up for Brett Tolman. You know, we love Brett Tolman on this program. An easy fix for you would be Patriot Mobile. You can switch today in order to make sure that you are supporting Christian conservative wireless providers, the only one in the entire world. Patriot Mobile, for 12 years, has been living their values. They are functional on a foundational principle: freedom of speech, freedom of commerce, freedom to live your life as an American and to speak freely with each other. Patriot Mobile makes that very easy for us. Whenever we're on the road, wherever we are in the whole world, we take our Patriot Mobile device with us. Absolutely sound, the best wireless provider in America. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT, use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. Patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Brett Tolman. My producers tell me he is set. Brett Tolman, who spent 30 years at the Department of Justice, who's argued every criminal case up and down the law book, who is a profoundly respected constitutionalist, and the director of Right on Crime. Ladies and gentlemen, Brett Tolman, live right now. Brett, welcome back to the program. Bad news today. There's no other way to spin it. Bad news for the country. Deciding that this on the constitutional level and on a statutory level is like, now it's done. It's permanent.
Yeah, look, there's multiple wins that occurred, but I've been articulating, and I've differed from colleagues that I have a lot of respect for. Jonathan Turley, for example. I disagree with his assessment that now this is a debate that we've never had as a country, and we can get to debating what does the 14th Amendment really mean. And I disagree with all that. I think it's a complete abject failure by the court. And I think Justice Roberts, sometimes I think he looks through a much larger political lens than people think that he does, and he tries to portray that he doesn't. But one of the things that he utilized to reach the majority opinion in the birthright citizenship was to argue that decades of recognizing the citizenship is meaningful and important to the Supreme Court's decision. Now think about that, Benny, because they just overturned Roe v. Wade, saying decades doesn't negate the fact that we have to look at the statutes and we have to look at the law, and we may have to overrule decades of practice, which they did. So I think this was an effort by, Justice Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts to reach a middle ground in anticipation that there's going to be enormous backlash on the left to pack the court, to do some extreme things, and it's not going to work in the end. And instead, we are not present in the day that we have, which is national security, issues. We have a birth tourism that would never have been anticipated. So Justice Thomas was right. We could have reached a decision that protected our borders, protected the interest of national security, and protected the sanctity and value of citizenship. Instead, we weakened a country, we weakened citizenship, we weakened Americans.
Oh, you make such a brutal point there. Oh, it hurts actually, because you're exactly right. Like it's all political. This is a political calculation to appease a bunch of court packers who are out here saying we need to add 12 more justices. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and look at what they said. I mean, Jeffries just got booed by the socialists uprising in his party. You think for a second there's going to be any reasonable Democrat that isn't going to nuke the filibuster, that isn't going to, go over the top in packing the court, and while we sit on the sidelines believing and in our ivory tower believing that we're reaching some intellectual, honest opinion in this case, and instead we failed to read the room, read the country, read the day that we are in. And I'm worried for the country when it comes to that decision. Senator Lee and I are very close, and we've had some discussions today about what this means. But truly, Roberts could have set this up so that it was a plurality, that Congress could then have more effective ways of dealing with this issue. But instead, they ruled on the constitutionality of it all, and now we need an amendment. And you and I both know the likelihood of an amendment with this Congress.
Yeah, you mean a constitutional amendment with 2/3 of the states?
Yeah, constitutional amendment.
Yeah, I mean that's just, it's not going to happen.
No.
Things would descend, I think, into civil war before that would happen, and I think that's more likely. And so it's terrible, and the solution now becomes so much harder, right? Which is you have to keep permanent Republican majorities in order to secure our borders, because the next Democrat administration will open the borders and the floodgates, and they'll change America. Demographically, America will be finished. It'll become the third world. They will open the doors to the third world. And this ruling makes it guaranteed then that those people become Americans, even though, of course, they're not in any sense.
Yeah, people forget that this provision was put into place in order to protect the ability of freed slaves and their children to maintain their citizenship in the United States. That was a very different time, a very different, analysis that was being used. And they did not anticipate that countries that are enemies of this country, that it would be so easy for them to infiltrate the country, have children here, and literally take over political pockets, communities and cities and counties and states. And we've seen it, Benny. You and I, in our short lifetime, we've seen how this 14th Amendment certainly did not anticipate that dynamic.
So what is why is it always us, Brett? Like you've worked, how long were you at the Justice Department?
I've worked decades. Yes.
Decades,
I mean,
so why is it it's never the left. The left never gets a Sandra Day O'Connor. The left never gets a David Souter. The left never gets a John Roberts. They never make picks like that. The left never makes it's always us. It's always, and I thought that we were like done being such dumbasses and choosing people like that. But then Amy Coney Barrett comes along. Amy Coney Barrett comes along and proves that she tricked, and Mike Davis just went scorched earth. He said she tricked us. She lied. She deceived all of us. She lied in all of the hearings and all of the gauntlets we put her into. She tricked us and deceived us. But the left never does this. The left the left puts Ketanji Brown Jacksons on the court, and we're stuck with Sandra Day O'Connors. Why? Why are we so weak and stupid?
Let me tell you, I have some experience with Justice Roberts. I was in the Senate. I was working as a chief counsel in the United States Senate Judiciary Committee. I was assigned to work on the nomination and confirmation of Justice Roberts. And I remember, and Reed O'Connor was there. He's a sitting federal judge, very good judge, very, very important rulings come from Judge O'Connor. But at the time, Reed and I were counsels in the judiciary. And we both concluded one thing about Justice Roberts at the time, watching him in his confirmation hearings, that this individual was far too smooth, that he was incredibly adept at telling people what they wanted to hear on the judiciary. And, old guard senators like Senator Hatch, Senator Cornyn, other senators, they bought it all. They bought it all. And I remember saying, I do not trust Justice Roberts. And there were many of us that didn't trust Justice Roberts because, remember, we came off of having gotten our ass kicked on Justice Bork, and the left pulled out a miraculous destruction of that nomination, and he would have been incredible going forward. And then they went after Thomas, and they have been always far better at organizing to go after true conservatives, constitutionalists, than we have ever been at organizing and going against progressives and destructionists and individuals that would rewrite through law our Constitution. But why do we keep failing? Like with Amy Coney Barrett and with others? Who pushed that one? Mitch McConnell pushed that nominee. That's who got pushed. So you have this old guard, these individuals who still conduct themselves as though the left is operating in good faith. And you see it still, Benny. You see it in the people that are in the Senate. Some of the older senators that are there, they still believe that we're not where we're at when it comes to politics. And damn it, we are at where we're at. And if we don't get more Alitos on the court and Thomases on the court, the country is never. There's never going to be a backstop on the insanity that the left pushes.
We had our shot to remake the court forever. 3 justices in the first Trump term. That's obscene. I just can't believe we got one of them horribly wrong, and we got one of them kind of wrong with Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh's disappointed. Gorsuch almost never disappoints. Kavanaugh's iffy. And Barrett, on big questions, has now become a Robert, where you can just count on her betraying us on the big questions. I honestly, it matters to me, right? Like, whatever, the stuff that she's good on, okay? Like men and women's sports, or like teaching a Bible in school, like that stuff, I get it. Like, I get it. Like, you're a Catholic, like whatever. But on questions of the existential threats to Western civilization, she betrays us. And that's the moment we're living in right now. What is an American? Can we deport criminals? Can we send people that are here from foreign nations to colonize us home so they can't do that? Can we protect ourselves? And she betrays us on every single question.
Well, it's true. And people think it comes down to, okay, sour grapes, not ruling in favor of Trump's policies or executive orders. No, it's actually different than that. It's not being moored or anchored into conservatism and the Constitution and adhering to those incredible protections that this Constitution gives us. And look, every country, I could be wrong, there could be one or two that haven't, but every country that had birthright citizenship in this day and age has taken that out of their constitutions or out of their laws.
Interesting.
And there's a reason for that. And that is because there's an effort by many countries, many of them in the Middle East, China, Mexico, other countries that have proven to be hostile to the United States. There's a lot of hostility to other countries. They've seen very quickly what happens when you have birthright citizenship. It was a notion at the time that made sense when you're trying to deal with the freeing of massive number of slaves. It does not make sense on any serious country that is trying to preserve its national security.
How do we prevent another Barrett? I mean, like, what do you think is happening there with Amy Coney Barrett? Were you in favor of her nomination? Were you against it?
I didn't know her well. She handled herself surprisingly similar to Justice Roberts in her confirmation hearings, right? Remember how polished and how smooth she was.
Yes.
And, we were in awe of her intellect. And, it's kind of the problem is we've put up the nerdiest of nerds and they listen to their own internal intellect far more than they have the capability of reading the country, the room, the Constitution, or the statutes at issue.
How do we prevent this from happening? Obviously, you've been part of these nominations. You know, you, as you said, you were there for the shepherding of John Roberts. You had the red flags, as the kids would say, on John Roberts. Yeah.
Well, there's, Justice Alito was, he was an example of a pick in which we had a really long record of his decisions. That's very key. You cannot go forward anymore without having a very long record on key issues.
Yes.
And so Alito's, NPR just put out today, Benny, that Alito has retired. And then they retracted it and said it was published in error, right? So I like the very living definition of fake news. If Alito were to step down, I know the candidates right now that are being considered, I have so much confidence that they are in the mold of Scalia and Alito and Gorsuch. And so I've seen them. I know that they have a long history of ruling and decision making. You cannot go forward any longer without a necessarily long and storied history and record by these justices on the appellate court to see how they're ruling on key issues like the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, 14th Amendment, all of those things. If we don't have that, pass, go to the next one.
Exactly. No, you're exactly right. It's like enough of this vibes. It's like we play a DEI game. We play the same left. It's like vibes, you know?
I just have a good feeling about that one.
You know, it's weird. We did the same thing, you know, so she was replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right?
Yes.
And it's like, there was like this assumption that it had to be a woman. That's insane. That's insane. Like, why did we play that game? That's obscene. Why wasn't it Brett Tolman? It should have been Brett Tolman. I know a guy. His name's Brett Tolman.
Look, Mike Lee. I wanted Mike Lee in there.
Why not Mike Lee? That's exactly right. Why did we play this game? Why did we play their stupid game? You know, it's such an affront to. First off, it's prima facie illegal to say I'm going to put a black woman on the court. I mean, that's like illegal, right? Like you can't do that. That's open federal government discrimination, using the power of the federal government, the executive branch, to discriminate against all white men, women, and every other color of woman, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, but we played that game with Gorsuch and we lost. And it's such a painful loss now. It's something that I'm struggling with. Like, why are we so stupid? You know,
one of the other things is we've valued pedigree over substance on the right. Yes. I mean, look, the only benefit we have on the left's appointments is occasionally we have some severely intellectually challenged nominees. So we do get a benefit there because their interest in DEI hiring has, it has that consequence. But we have been so determined that it has to be Harvard and Yale. And what are we getting out of those schools? What has higher education proven to be when it comes to their constitutional perception, their political ideologies? So we have to branch out. We cannot be handicapped by the elitism of the education, the academic facility, institution.
Brett, I would take Saul Goodman over Amy Coney Barrett any day. So I know how he decorate his Supreme Court office with that giant Constitution.
That's great.
Probably have a couple bags of cash in there. No big deal. Who among us? Yeah. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Like, it's a frustrating moment, but it's something that I guess we can still win.
Yes.
It's just all the more reason to keep enforcing our laws in this country and to close down the border, to elect Republicans, to elect immigration hardliners, to save the West. I guess this is the only way it's ever been saved. So,
yep.
To that end, I guess maybe a parting question. What should happen? What should happen on these immigration cheats? What should happen? I mean, the Ilhan Omar question, the Zorhan Mandami question, like what would the Trump must remediate this ruling by now ruthlessly exercising its ability to deport and to denaturalize immigration fraud, correct?
Yeah, look, we did have some wins. We're not talking about it because we're reeling from birthright citizenship, but we have the ability now, the executive branch to revoke temporary protected status. That's incredibly important that we had that win with the Supreme Court. That's going to be very devastating for those that are trying to, pack the country with voters they think are going to keep them in power. And Trump needs to wield that power. And I think they will. I think they'll exercise their ability to protect the border more vigorously. And that tells you how important the next election is. But I also think we need to have in the Senate, I'm encouraged that there are folks like Ken Paxton that are coming up. You're going to see some senators that are going to come in there that have a better appreciation for the current state of the world and this country and the need for us to be mindful of protecting our national security.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, let's hope that they do. I know that they will. You can almost hear the Stephen Miller activated.
I'm ready to hear it.
You can already, you can hear the vibration, right? Like, okay. Well, the way you fix this ruling is make sure that there's no illegals here to give birth.
That's right.
It's a great way to fix it's a great way to fix it. You're right.
It is.
Yeah. So thank you, Tom. Everybody follow Tom. I'm sorry, Brett Tolman. Everybody follow Brett. Right on Crime. It's awesome. And he just living sort of my dream life out west. I was in Montana recently and I'm like, dude, what am I doing? It's like amazing in Montana.
It's incredible. 250th, going to be with the president at Mount Rushmore. Looking forward to it.
Well, yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, God bless you, Brett. See ya.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Benny.
Boy, howdy. That was a heck of a show. Well, at least we deliver for you. And we say, well, we're going to do our best. We've seen great successes on this show. We've been live during election night 2024. That was probably the high water mark. We've seen extreme lows. For instance, we covered, you remember that day, Alex, where we covered President Trump's plane as it was taxiing after his arrest? Right? Trump was arrested. So like Trump's plane lands so he can be arrested and get a mugshot. And we were like live for like 7 hours that day, like covering sort of the step-by-step of Trump Force One. He goes to Fulton County. He gets arrested. He gets his mugshot. I mean, very, like, whoa, what's happening here? Dangerous times. It's terrifying times. Obviously, we were live during Butler as well. Minutes after. Yeah, Fat Alvin. Remember that? So you get highs and lows in all of this, and nothing is guaranteed. What is guaranteed is our faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and our foundations. And so let us continue to have faith in those. That's really the only thing that won't let you down. Men will always let you down. Institutions created by men will let you down. Pray for deliverance, ladies and gentlemen. When the Magi were praying at the feet of the Christ child, one of the gifts they brought him was gold. It just shows that there's value in this precious commodity. Advantage Gold can set you up. Advantage Gold can make sure that you have something of real value in your retirement and in your 401k, ETFs, crypto, paper money. It all gets reduced down to its most basic elements. Digital ones and zeros are the value of paper. And so invest in something of real value. I trust Advantage Gold. It's America's top-rated precious metals company. They're giving my listeners a free gold investment kit right now. Text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545 today. You'll discover how retirement savings can be turned into physical gold and silver. It's a good way to go. No cost, no obligation. Text Benny to 85545 today. All right. Well, you carry on and you fight another day. So let's keep fighting. Here's our poly market for the day. We got a who's going to win during the midterms. Goodness gracious. Where's the map? What's the map looking like? Let's pop it up, please. Where are we at here? 2016 midterm elections. Got it? No? Nothing? Okay. Well, then I guess we got to move on to our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Justice exalts as a nation, but sin is a people's disgrace. Proverbs 14:34. Justice exalts as a nation, but sin is a people's disgrace. What is Western civilization? What is it? What are we fighting for here exactly? Hot dogs, hamburgers, fireworks? It's awesome. That's amazing. But no, actually, Western civilization is justice. Blind justice. Justice for all people, that all men are created equal. That is Western. That is Roman. That is Christian foundationally. That there are no blood tribes or blood oaths or grudges that make you lesser tribe or a lesser person. You're not judged for the sins of your ancestors. You're not grouped into irredeemables. I don't know, Hillary Clinton called all of us a basket of deplorables, and then she called us all irredeemable. That's blood guilt right there. No, every person is created unique by God and granted the opportunity to live a life of justice or a life of sin. Sin is the disgrace of the people. And so you gotta make sure that you take a real cause and real concern about who you're letting into your country, because the vast majority of the world, the set basis of the world is blood libel. We hate all of them because they're a different tribe. They're a Jew. They're a Muslim. They're Chinese, Japanese. Ooh, man, look into what Japan did to China just a couple decades ago. Holy smokes. Like, that's blood libel. Japanese hate the Chinese. The Chinese hate the Japanese. It's always been that way. I don't even understand why. But it is what it is. Got Kangman on staff. He's Korean. What does he think about that? I don't know. I've never asked. But that's the way the majority of the world works. It's uniquely Western that we have blind justice for the guilty, and mercy to the innocent. This is the foundation of Western civilization. Somalis don't think like that. I mean, it's almost why you can't have juries in Minneapolis anymore. We saw this with actually the Carmelo Anthony jury, like the tribal barbarians, like saying, I'm just never going to convict a black man. I'll just never convict a black man. He's black, so that means he's innocent. He should never be punished ever for anything. You saw that. That was said openly in the streets. That's the opposite of Western thinking. The opposite. But it's why you mustn't let that ideology take root here, and you mustn't import people from that ideology here. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the key. So let your nation exalt in justice. Sin is the opposite of that justice. So lock in with Proverbs 14:34 today. And we'll keep praying for justice here, ladies and gentlemen, and fighting alongside you. It's your boy, Benny. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Truth gon' be faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.